Hello there, a very good morning and welcome to another edition of Newsline coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios right here in Colombo. Of course, your usual host, Farah Shaukat Ali, is out for today. I'm Sharlan Benedict and I will be sitting in for him today. Well, getting right down to it, our guest this morning, an eminent personality who has entered the field of politics as an alternative force for the general public of Sri Lanka. Very good morning and a very warm welcome, Mr. Vijay Singh, former Auditor General of Sri Lanka. Sir, this is the first time that you are campaigning in a presidential election, I believe, as an official person who is supporting a presidential candidate. How has the campaign been so far?
Campaign is going on well, especially competition. There's no very good playing field. That's the biggest issue.
There's a good playing field?
No.
There's no good playing field.
Okay. Because you know that everything is based going on the money, because we don't have any looted money. So we just moving with the mouth-to-mouth campaign rather than having a big rallies, because it cost a huge amount. So we don't have money. And
well, Mr. Vijay Singh, as the age-old saying goes, money does talk. And you, as the Auditor General, one thing that I really saw when I was scrolling through social media one of the past few days, there was a report compiled by a credible organization regarding the money that has been used for the election campaign. Now, this is, of course, a rough analysis, as no party, I believe, is obliged to provide their election finances to any organization in Sri Lanka. Is that correct, sir?
Yeah, of course. That they explained a lot, no, and there is no any monitoring program for election campaign. So most of the developed countries, all the political parties are audited by the Auditor General. So then people can, there's a big transparency then, no? So we are talking about the Malaysia, Korea and all those countries. And all those countries are, all the political affairs monitoring by the Auditor General. So that's why we wanted to bring that also into our legislation. And even Constitution is not available. But under the new Audit Act, we try to put that word political party and to Auditor General's purview. But nobody was accepted it.
Nobody was in favor of it.
Yeah. So, but if we had a chance to get that into the legislation, and anyway, some documents come to the table, so then people can start a good dialogue, how they earn money, how they expend that money, and how when they come to the power, and who is the trapping to with the multinational corporations and different type of unethical way. But in Sri Lanka, I don't think that chance is there. So if we need to get the good political culture, definitely that should be there in the law. So then people get control themselves.
So, but just having these articles, these provisions in law, is that alone enough? We need proper enforcement, because one thing that is an accepted fact is that we have enough and more laws in Sri Lanka. Maybe not on election financing and election monitoring, but on other matters. But there is a lack of enforcement of these laws. These laws are really not enforced.
Of course, for the enforcement, first we must have a law, no?
Exactly.
So if you want to bring something to the table, no? So expenditure, whether it is correct or not, so that also another argument, no? So to bring that into the table, so somebody should be responsible. So if you have that type of regulation, so then we can start that enforcement. So even I think Election Commissioner has no power to check that one. So if that law is there, so then that point itself we can start that role, no?
So, Mr. Vijay Singh, this is the first time that you have been very actively involved in politics, and you are representing the alternative this time around, out of the mainstream political parties. How has the reception been to the National People's Party from the general public of the country?
Actually, well speaking, I am still not in the political party. We are the political national citizens organization.
Okay, right.
And then there is no way to go for election by the that type of movement. So that's why we supported to the National People's Party, and we tried last so many years to find that good person for this one. And after my retirement, they selected me, but thereafter General Mahesh retired, and then we discussed with him, and he agreed to contest the election. And that is the way we bring to that position. And I suppose that there's a big help from the for the alternative party, and you know that mainstream, that everybody knows that they are going very corrupted way, and nobody able to develop this country. And other ways, very easily we can see that country can be developed within a few years if the corruption is over, and the intellectual people can take over this political stream. So that's why we thought to give some sort of help to the country and see that whether people like it, and if people like, we can do it. And unless, what can you do, because end of the day that a small cross is the
deciding factor.
Yes, deciding factor. So people should decide it. The issue is that how can you go to the people, because there's no help from the, in the sense that media can't help us without everything is going based on the money. So we don't have money, so how can we reach all the people, no? So that's it. But mouth to mouth campaign is going on, and within this time, even next time, I think people can realize that this can be developed very easily, no? So that message is spreading out.
Of course, politics is not a short-term game. It's a long-term investment, if you will, not for one person, but for the country as a whole. Do you plan on continuing to represent the alternative here in Sri Lanka, give Sri Lankans a choice, other than the general political parties that are already in place?
Of course, rather than blaming to the voters, so they don't have any option. No, they both parties what I have had up to now are the same. So we must give some sort of alternative. Then only we can say that you are not doing well for the. Unless we can't blame just to the voters.
Because I can remember in the past always there was the governing party, and then there was the common candidate presented as a combination of all the other parties. I believe even the JVP, or this time the National People's Power Movement, has presented a candidate after a lapse of about a decade or two.
Yeah, but still the system is under same condition, no?
Yes.
So we always realize that the way it's going on is not correct. If it is correct within 70 years, the country should be developed, no? So definitely we have to test another different way, and that they have proved that when you get that whole region now okay. Except Sri Lanka, now Afghanistan only below Sri Lanka.
The growth
so I think if you go the same way, we are the last line, that Afghanistan also coming up. So definitely we are having a lot of resources. Only issue is the there's no corruption, and there's no management system. They got not proper political system. So if you can change it, and if you can bring the few intellectual people to the parliament and presidents too, and immediately we can change the system.
One thing that I've really noticed is the fact that during a run-up to any election, especially when it comes to a presidential election, because no matter how many people dispute it, we still function under an executive president. It's an executive presidential system. The president is vested with wide-ranging powers. And especially during the run-up to a presidential election, there is always this talking point. I remember back after the war was won for the first time in 2010, the talking point was, you know, the war victory. Now we need to establish national security, give us power. Then in 2015, the talking point was corruption. There is so much corruption, we need to get rid of corruption, good governance. That was the talking point then. This time around, the talking point seems to be policies. Do you believe that the discussion on policies leading up to this presidential election is flowing down the right path?
Of course, that is the one of the big issue, and up to now. So as you said that there's a one talking point, so that is we call that broken watch theory. So you know that if it is watch is not working, but anyway 2 times during the any day
time will be right.
Time will be right. So like that, all the politicians also they get that 100 decision, 2 3 maybe okay. So they try to win through that 2 3 decision, but end of the day country got fail, no. So that is issue. So anyway, now the policies are speaking about that, but still that there's a big vague area. I mean that even though they are talking about the concessionary and subsidiary and things like that, nobody is talking about how they earn money. So because they need a huge amount of money, the country is badly in debt, no. So the total income is equal to the installment and interest payment. So how can country run it like this, right? So for that concern, definitely policy must be changed, and policy to be discussed in a nice way, proper manner, rather than cheating people. So we can see that they are try to cheat again this time, putting that name called policy. So but we can't see that any policy to develop this country. So that's one of the big problem even this time. So every elections they try to play out people, and this time also they are using another word, but that word is using that only
it's the same rhetoric that is continuing.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So Mr. Gamini Vijay Singh, you're a man of economics, if I may say so. As the former Auditor General, you know the inside and out of the economy of Sri Lanka. Are these policies, or these proposals, these subsidiaries, these concessions, are they practical?
No, that's why I said that it's not practical. That's that is one of the big issue today, because just to show some sort of dream to the people, but that is not the way, because our value additions to be developed, no, rather than giving something. So subsidies is okay some extent, because we need to maintain different section. For example, agriculture section needs subsidy because that industrial and service sector getting more value additions and more profit, and that should be looking after the agriculture sector. That is a global norm, but that does not be the political game. It should be the actual way of developing country. So we have to think about we have to look after agriculture side in Sri Lanka. So this is some sort of agriculture country. So we have to some sort of sustainable from the agricultural side. So rather than thinking about that, we just to give a lot of promises, so that it is not material.
But although it's not material to the country, the development of the country as a whole, it plays quite a vital role when it comes to an election victory, because it plays to the hearts of the people, it plays to the minds of the people. Although the alternative has many intellectuals, probably, arguably, with far greater knowledge than those in the mainstream political parties and in Parliament itself, there seems to be a bit of a lapse between the knowledge that they have and how they deliver it to the general public, on it being an attractive, being delivered in an attractive way. How is the alternative tackling this issue of presenting their policies to the general public in an attractive manner?
So that is the issue, because last 70 years people has not know any idea about the policies and things like that, no. At the same time, go to the people is very big issue for alternative party. So without money we can't do it, very difficult to handle it. So but still we try. I think that slowly people can understand the what we are trying to tell them, because each and every section is concerned. Sri Lanka need reform, and Sri Lanka need new path. So everything is going yes, and wrong way. So people realize it, but still they thinking about themselves, no? So that's one main problem in Sri Lanka. And when election comes, that people think that what is getting to them from the political party, rather than how that country can be developed. So that message again needs to develop the people's wisdom. So I think that media has a big role, rather than doing today roles, right?
I think an apt statement was made in that regard from a popular former US president. He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, instead ask what you can do for your country."
Yeah. That is the one we have to think about, because without developing education, without developing media to to enhance people knowledge and people wisdom. So nobody can do anything. The alternative can't do anything. No, so that's why we try to educate even education system and the media to play a good role, big role for the country rather than doing
for political parties. Mr. Gamini Vijay Singh, you said that there's a massive disparity in the amount of money that you have spent, the main candidates have spent. Just to shed a little bit of light on how big that disparity is to the viewers out there, a total of about 750 to 800 million rupees has been spent for this election by all these political parties.
That is also only for
yes, out of that, out of that, that was only for media, for publicity, and out of that amount, only 1 million has been spent by forces representing the alternatives, including the independent candidates and all that. I believe the JVP has spent somewhere close to 2 to 3 million, while the two main parties have spent over 300 million each for just propaganda activities of the election campaign. At the rate that things are going, Mr. Gamini Vijay Singh, it does not seem that your movement, the alternative, would see the light of day during your lifetime. Would you be willing to fight for that long?
Actually, when we think about the country's situation, we are a little bit get upset. No, so we know that we can do something further to changing country and changing people and to keep people happy in this country, because this is a very success country, very resourceful country.
It's a gift from God.
Yes, of course. But unfortunately, God has given this gift also, that wrong political system. So if you can help at least to these people can understand that they are doing wrong thing, no. So when you talk, and I think that hasn't happened even now. I hope already we have win. I mean that people are starting talking about the policies, and people are talking about the happiness of people, and people talking about the main parties also talking about the farmers problem and things like that. So that means that they
push them to a corner.
Of course, that is the one of the major
victories.
Yes, major victories for us.
So moving forward, do you plan on continuing this alternative movement at the future elections as well? Do you plan on supporting another party? Any discussions regarding that?
It is going on actually based on the this election, that we know that whether people are demanding this, and we are helping to get that signal, and then we move in. Anyway, we have decided to go forward, because without getting some sort of powers in parliament, very difficult to do something, because you know that all the law in the country is completely outdated. So it won't take action by the present parliament. So that's why we think that some sort of pressure to be given to that side also, so then only changes can be taken place.
Mr. Gamini Vijay Singh, Professor Ratnajivan Hool, speaking I believe a few weeks back, said that he believes that no candidate will get 50% of the vote. So the vote given by, the preferential vote given to let's say the main candidates or the prime candidates of the election via the vote that has already been cast to an alternative or to the JVP or any other party as such really matters to them as well. What is your stance regarding the preferential votes? People who are supporting the alternative, should they look at putting at a preferential vote, or should they only voice their objection to the current political system by marking a vote for the alternative alone?
Yeah, we don't want to underestimate the voters' per choice, and first we have to get that alternative and saying that we are completely against this political stream. So that's why I said that
first preference is for the alternative.
To the alternative. So even one I don't mind, but we have to say some message that the way 70 years is going is completely wrong. So that message should be given by the people. That is one of big responsibility today voters. And secondly, if you feel that somebody is in their mind, so we can, second preference can be given. But at the same time, as you mentioned that if no one can get that more than 50%, and second round, and they reduce that number of total votes to the available votes and preference vote, so then it will be a success. And even though we are getting some sort of vote from the alternative second choice, that can be added back, and they can select that person. No, so it won't be a much issue.
Another talking point in the run-up to a presidential election especially is that this is the final chance that we get to save the nation, or save Buddhism, or save national security. But in your view, would you think that this is a chance to send a message to the main political parties that we are not buying what you're selling?
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's a big argument in that in that statement. Basically, that we have gone that wrong way for last 70 years. No, so now bringing back is not easy, and but still time is there, because if you can start even at least now, so we can move forward, because most of the globe has gone
way past
us, right?
Countries that were once below us, or I mean, and speaking on economic terms, best example being Singapore.
Of course.
I mean, Lee Kuan Yew said, I want to make Singapore like Colombo.
Yeah,
I mean, if he can come back and see the situation now.
Yeah, but I think that we have to find that Sri Lanka, not like Singapore something. So we have our own
we have to build up our own identity.
Build up our own identity. So that is the one of big one, and especially due to this loan issue. So that is one of the part we are talking about, that we have to start stopping borrowing loans hereafter for unnecessary projects. So we have borrowed a lot of loans for the unnecessary project, and that project has not been any benefits to the country, any benefits to the development assets and comfort of people life. So therefore, if you stop it, then we can start turning.
Because speaking in figures, I believe an article that I read stated that we have about a loan of about 12 trillion.
Yeah,
but
course,
assets worth only 1 trillion.
Of course, that is one of the indicator, but that does not mean that asset is 1 trillion, but it is somewhere different places. It has not been accounted proper way. But the same time, the very firm that more than 50% has been corrupted, because money has been gone to the different unnecessary places.
Spendings.
Or else there is no value of the assets built by the previously by borrowing loans. So that is the issue.
Mr. Gamini Vijay Singh, we've been going through this political system for the past 70 years. Do you believe that you can really make some change or leave your mark at this presidential election?
So that is why I said that it is completely in the
hands of the people.
If people need to develop this country, definitely they have to take that decision. If they feel that way of going is okay, so we can't do anything, no. So because we can just tell them there is a big path and big way to develop this country, and people accept it, it's okay. If they don't accept it, say that this way is the best way, so we can't do anything, no.
Mr. Gamini Vijay Singh, now you as the former Auditor General would, as I said before, know the inside and outsides of the economy of Sri Lanka. How much longer do you think we can survive until we reach a breaking point where we have to go for austerity measures?
Well, that's depend on the way we focus in the future. I suppose that in the loan concern, that government already we have explained that we have given enough report that more than 20% from upfront can be saved from the government if you stop wasting money.
Especially
so
administrative expenses.
Administrative expenses and corruption, basically corruption concern. At the same time, we have not collecting the actual revenue from this country, even custom, even in revenue, even excise concern, taxes and duties concern. They don't have enough facilities, enough powers to do it. And if you have a streamline that revenue path, so we can earn huge amount of further revenue rather than the collecting now. So based on those, immediately we can start change, right? So I don't think that it take much time to bring this country to the developed position. and if you stop that thing and develop that focus in the productivity part, so and the appreciating local value, local industry and local agricultural system, so it will be immediately start changing.
Mr. Vijay Singh, I'd also like to ask you this question. In your personal opinion, very personal opinion, I would like to ask you, why do you think people believe the current politicians, or career politicians, let's call them, after they have continuously proved to be ineffective in developing the country? Why do people still believe them? Why do people still vote for them and not consider an alternative?
Actually, up to now, there was no alternative, no? First thing.
Right.
Second thing, they don't have any experience for last 70 years. They are enjoying this type. At the same time, we say that is one type of problem in our country. People are having that block vote system. So people believe that like religious of the politics, no?
But I believe coming from the newer generations here in Sri Lanka, the youth are not that gullible.
Of course, I agree. That now they are in the internet. They are in the global.
They're more informed.
More informed, and they read it and they understand it, right? So they know that people they don't have when you start the go for a vote. So definitely they must be a non-political, and they are thinking about the alternative way. So then only you can find that proper person to control this country. And like you are going for having a marriage, so you are trying to find the best suitable person, no? So but when you go for the election, they don't care about that. They just hand it to the country for the
I mean, let alone marriage. Even when we go to buy, say, a bottle of milk, we check for the expiry date, we check for the price, we check so many things. But when we go to the polling booth,
they don't care about that, no? So unbelievable the way it's
also another one of my final questions to you, Mr. Vijay Singh, here. Another point that people bring up is the fact that, you know, we should vote for a candidate who can win. That
is wrong. Actually, that is one of the wrong concept. So we must give the proper policy rather than winning part. So election, that vote has given a 2-1. No, that's why I said that first is you have to say that we are against you. That vote says that, you know, if you go for a alternative, first you have to say that one. And even you are giving for the main two stream, so one is losing, no, so only one is winning. So we don't know which one is going to win it. So therefore don't worry about the who is going to win, and we have to use that rather than going for a popular one, we must go for correct one. So then your vote get win, no? So that way you have to think.
So it's not the responsibility of the general public to vote for a winning candidate?
No, there's no way like that, no. So how can you say that who knows that winning candidate?
Who will win?
Yeah. So they definitely you have to go for a correct path and to bring this country to a correct path. So that we don't think that there's a big power for the single vote, but
there is.
Yeah, there is. So we have to use it in a good way. Especially this year, this election, I suppose that people should vote for the alternative to give a big message to the mainstream that your way is wrong.
And we don't accept you anymore.
Yes.
What about the people who are seated at home saying, it's really not worth my time, the political system in Sri Lanka is not going to change, it's been the same for the past 70 years, nobody can change it, so I'm not going to vote this time? What is your message to them?
If everybody is thinking that way, what will happen to this country? So that's why I'm saying that each and everybody is having a same responsibility. I don't have any additional responsibility to change this country. So everybody is having same responsibility. So everybody yourself should take action and go to the polling station and do your duty. Then only country can change, no, rather than giving responsibility to somebody else.
Mr. Vijay Singh, you said nobody in this country has an additional responsibility than anyone else to get involved in the politics of this country. But a person like you is more involved in politics than an average person who's seated at home, probably. Why do you really do it?
Of course, that is one of my problem also. I can't wait, because I know that actually I do my responsibility. But I can't do anything because everything responsibility belong to the this country people, no. So they should take their responsibility. I do my one, but I don't have any additional responsibility. Even I do it. So after the retirement, I just can wait home and
you do it voluntarily.
Of course, voluntarily, because I still even today I don't have any political party. I am not any member of any political party. I just go with like that social movement and to push these things to be changed.
But I believe that civil society, social movement, as you spoke of, is a force to be reckoned with. We saw the power of civil society back in 2015 when the government of President Maithripala Sirisena was elected as the president. How people were thinking, you know, this regime can't be changed, but civil society got together and did it. Do you think that the people are underestimating the power of the alternative again?
Yeah, no, but that's one issue, no, because that is why people are just again having that doubt, because 2015 they didn't selected alternative party as an independent person. So again,
they went along with a main party.
Yeah, so they started again to push for another political party. You know that in Sri Lankan constitution is concerned, definitely president must be an independent person. So he won't belongs to any party, because he is the leader of country, he is the leader of executive, he is the leader of government, he is the leader of all the forces, right? So he must be a monitor of this country. So he must not have a
but is that really possible, judging by the political setups or the political frameworks in other countries as well? We know that the Sri Lankan president, the powers that the Sri Lankan president have are compared to the powers of the president of France and also the president of America. But both of those presidents too are members of political parties.
Of course, we can't compare the Sri Lanka with America or France. So if there is a culture is there, doesn't matter, but our culture is completely wrong, no? So people going for
you mean we don't follow conventions,
revenging and things like that, no? So if he's an independent person, so he can monitor nicely and control this country.
So speaking of, it's just the final days of the election campaign, and I believe election propaganda activities are suspended from midnight tomorrow.
Yeah.
What are any final rallies organized by the Alternative or the National People's Party?
No, actually, based on the funding issue, we don't go when we are going mouth-to-mouth campaign, and we have a small pocket meeting here and there, and further there's a few meeting has been arranged, and that is the way we are going to go for the voters' concern.
Mr. Vijay Singh, just a few months ago, we saw certain parliamentarians coming out and saying that we are for transparency and therefore we will release our asset declarations. Now, there was also a call for the presidential candidates of this election to release their asset declarations. Of course, this has not happened, not gained much publicity. Do you believe that this is a good move towards issuing more transparency among the candidates?
Yeah, of course, that transparency must be there, and people must prove that they are genuine. So issue is that law is not so strong in that sense, area. So I think that should be changed, especially as I mentioned that all the cost concern, all the political party to be audited by the Auditor General. At the same way, all the asset declaration must be available, and that is not enough. Within each and every year is in the system. It should be check it and see whether there is any unwanted increase of the
but then there is a bit of an issue, because the Inland Revenue Department, or the authorities for that matter, they raise eyebrows when an average citizen just gets a little bit more than what he or she is supposed to earn. Say a person who earns about 30 to 40,000 rupees a month, if he gets a deposit of about 1 million or 2 million, everybody has a problem with it.
Yeah.
But here political parties are spending 700, 800 million, billions, in the billions, and nobody seems to care.
Of course, that's why I said the law is so weak. There are so many laws here and there, but still when you come for the political party, there won't be even they won't pay even taxes sometimes. No? So there is no way to
sometimes I think it's always.
Yes, of course. So therefore system should be so strong, because in Sri Lanka concern, you can't see the without compliance, without enforcement. So definitely enforcement side to be a strength in Sri Lanka to get that proper good compliance. So it will be okay other way around another 100 years later in this country, but for the time being now we need enforcement very strong way in Sri Lanka, so then only compliance can be taken to a proper path.
As a former state sector employee, how important do you believe is the role of the government services, state sector employees, in ensuring that good governance really does exist?
Definitely, without government sector you can't think about the private sector, because there's a big monitoring system, compliance system, monitoring system must be available in each and every country is doing the same way. So even any service taken by the 2 or more people, so that should be monitored from somewhere from the government sector. So unless it will get corrupted and it goes wrong
or
way,
one person would maintain a monopoly.
of course, so that problem is there. So government sector is very essential. Only thing is that they are moving from the people due to various issues. So that too should be addressed, because private government sector to be embraced by the people, then only there must be a value additions to the country, no? So for that concern, definitely the system should be changed again, because the system is completely outdated for the present situation. So I think that government service should be reformed further to actually embraced by the citizen. So then only that people think that the government service is very worthwhile.
Mr. Gamini Vijay Singh, you were speaking about the debt issue here in Sri Lanka. Also given that it's the final few days that any political party can engage in propaganda activities, I'd like to ask you to explain to the general public, to our viewers out there, how does the alternative plan on tackling this debt crisis, which is a real-time issue that we are facing here in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, that's one of the serious issue when policy papers, even policy matters concerned, because that is one of biggest trouble. We can say we give this one, that one, everything. So but how we get it, and how they paying these outdated outstanding loans. So that concern, we also say that definitely we have to reduce that expenditure of the government by 25%, because that is corruptions and wastage. There is a lot of mismanagement. So that can use for paying this one. Anyhow we can't avoid paying, no, because most of the international community and local communities loans concerned, that is 50-50 out of this 12 trillion, 6 trillion in local and say another 6 trillion from international market. So both definitely we have to pay in exact time. For that concern, we must have a very extreme, very planned system. Unless we can't face it, because most of borrowings as used for the projects, that projects is completely idle, and there's no any return or any benefits for the country, right? So that concern, definitely we have to think about that. So that's why we say that definitely we have to reduce that corruption in the country, and then we have to increase that earnings, revenue from the country, and thirdly we have to think about the rescheduling those loans, and we have to discuss these matters from the international market and see whether there is any way of postponing or reducing interest rate, things like that. So those are the main areas, and at the same time we have to control the dollar price. It's going out day by day. If you can reduce to 150 125, so trillions of especially that exchange parity concern, that loan has gone up by trillions, so it can be reduced by
trillions.
Yes, trillion. So all those areas to be addressed.
Right. Also another talking point these days in the run-up to the election is the fact that these election manifestos, as I told you before, the policies that these candidates present should be made a legally binding document on the candidates if they are elected to power. For this,
that is also another tradition. I think even presidents can't issue a manifesto, because president is the person who's monitoring country by that law passing by the parliament. So he has no any right to give any financial benefit, because he for example, in recent example, and the now manifesto saying that billions of new subsidies, no? So but that presidents want to have a vehicle, he went to parliament for the for approval. So definitely that parliament to be approve any financial issues concern. So he has no right, and non-financial concern, he can prepare the policies and how that country can be developed, and unless all those things to be get approval from the parliament. So in that sense, I am thinking that is a little bit illusion of issuing this manifesto like this.
And I believe the definition that we Sri Lankans have regarding a policy is a bit warped. Say if I promise you that I will give you fuel subsidy when I come into power, that is not a policy. That is a promise.
Of course.
A policy is where I detail how I'm going to improve your line of work, or how I'm going to provide the fuel subsidy if I am providing it.
Yes, that's why I said that it's there's a no binding anyhow, and if you can give that non-financial promises,
proper policies.
That should be the policies. This is the promises, no? So he can't give any promises, and even he break the promises, no law can be applied, no? So then there must be something wrong in the system that manifestos.
Mr. Vijay Singh, we're in the final few minutes of the show, and I will give you the opportunity to address our viewers out there. Why should they really vote for the alternative, and what difference will it make to this country?
Of course, that is always we are talking about the rather than manifestos issue, and voters having a big chance this time to say that we are against this present system going on in the country. So that message to be delivered by giving your votes to the alternative party. And I don't care which one is alternative. All the alternatives are saying that they are against the present system. So system should be changed. Not only system, it's systems to be changed, because all the systems are completely outdated in Sri Lanka. So that's why country can't move forward. So therefore, that message to be delivered, this is the
ideal time.
Priority, yes, ideal time for delivering that message. And secondly, if you feel that selecting some in your mind, so you can give a second choice. So that's a way you have to treat this time.
And that's how it was on Newsline this morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Vijay Singh, former Auditor General, for joining us on our show today, and a very big thank you also to all our viewers out there who tune in every day to watch Newsline. Until next time, take care and God bless.
Thank you.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.